Good morning, my friends. I want to tell you a little bit more about emotions today, and especially our more intense emotions. So, emotions have a couple roles, and it's something that we aren't really told about. Emotions are messengers, they're here to help you understand your relationship to life, what you care about, what course of action to take, what's working for you, what's not working for you. And by this I mean your genuine emotions. It's your emotions are like the thing that connects you to your value system and your sense of self in this life. So they're very important. And this is a follow-up to my last video. So that's the role that they play. They have messages, but they're also energy and motion, and they need to be integrated into our body in order to be digested, processed, and released so that they don't block up our system and get stuck in our nervous system and put us into fight, flight, or freeze. In later stage recovery, you can sometimes be stuck in a trauma loop because you're not feeling your emotions. Because it's funny, I noticed this like a lot of times at the beginning and first stage, we need to redirect away from negative emotions. And second and third stage, sometimes avoiding our emotions can it like clogs the limbic system in a certain sense. We're not feeling, and then the limbic system just starts like short circuiting. So I want to just give you a couple of ways to work through a few common emotions that can come up somatically, where we release that energy. Little kids are really wise in this sense, where they will express their emotions very physically, and they have no qualms about that at all. So when it comes to anger, that's a great one that comes up a lot of times here. Anger is one of the most powerful forces for change on this planet. It's such a powerful emotion. So to make the best use of it, aside from hearing the messages behind it, like I discussed in the last video, I really encourage you to give yourself permission to throw a tantrum on purpose in a safe place. Jump up and down, stomp, scream, whine out loud. You might need to go in your car and do this somewhere, or if you have, any place, like close the door, plug underneath, it helps if you, especially if you're vocalizing, to be able to hear how loud your own voice is. That helps to integrate your experience and help you to hear and feel yourself and connect with yourself. That was one of the biggest breakthroughs for me personally in my recovery, when I was grieving and I finally heard how loud the wailing was, and it like clicked that I was a real person. It's a pretty amazing experience. You can dance, dance aggressively, dance violently. Dancing is great for getting anger out. Breaking things in an appropriate way. Ice is a good one. Going places where it's designed to do that when you're physically able and it feels good. But yeah, if you live in a cold place, ice is a fantastic thing to destroy. It sounds like plates when it breaks. It is incredibly satisfying, and it melts, and it's free. So that's a fun one. Say out loud what you're angry about. Kind of like, like say it to my face. Like, you want to say it. You want to be clear about what you're angry about and why and what you want. And that gives you a direction to take that anger in, which is incredibly helpful, because anger is meant to mobilize us. Genuine, like heartfelt, soul level rage is meant to catalyze us into action, to change something. So be very clear about what wasn't okay, why you're angry, and what you want, what would make it right. And then set your course to start to go in that direction. Grief is another one that comes up a lot later in recovery. And this is very different. It's much more, we want to add comfort. So rocking, singing, swaying, I spent a lot of time just like holding myself and humming to myself, and singing and swaying, kind of like this. It's, and just like that, the self-touch, really comforting yourself as you go through those feelings. When you add comfort, it allows the grief to move through you. If we don't have enough comfort when we're grieving, a lot of times the grief will get stuck. It'll be too overwhelming to the nervous system without that added comfort. Weighted things and warm things are also really great for grief. So heavy blankets, heavy pillows, being curled up in a ball, child's pose if you can. That's a really fantastic. Curling up where you can feel the pressure of your knees up on your chest, maybe your forehead against something, and you can still rock, you can cry, you can haven, all those sorts of things in those positions. And all kinds of warm things. Going and sitting in the sun is really helpful, or a warm bath or warm shower. Whatever your range of comfort foods is, allow yourself to indulge in anything that is comforting when you're grieving. That it really helps to kind of grease up the process, so to speak, and let that grief move through you and not get stuck. Anxiety is another one. So again, dancing, walking, tapping, havening, and shaking, even just kind of shaking it off, like even if it's a little bit spastic, if you get that, whatever it is, like there's a lot of techniques you can look up for ways to shake out anxiety. But that can help a lot in these later, especially as we're facing deeper patterns where we need to move towards things that cause anxiety and move through that emotion to get to the other side of it. Just knowing how to comfort, and sometimes it's expressing and sometimes it's comforting. There's so many times where I've walked around my day just with my hand on my heart and like talking to myself in the bed and just kind of being like, you're okay. It's okay. You're going to be all right. And that makes a huge difference. It's that somatic signal to the limbic system and inner child that there's a grown up here who loves you, and you hear your own voice, you feel your own touch, and you feel contained and comforted and held. And that's part of how you build that strong bond with yourself through self-parenting. So there's some tips for working through the heavy stuff. It's just one of the most rewarding parts of this process. So if you're in that phase, I honor you and I'm proud of you, and keep it up. It's the best.